Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another discussion video. In today's video, we're talking about 5 losers from the Set 9 ban list. These are going to be 5 decks and or strategies that are kind of hurt from the ban list changes, the errata changes, the limit changes, things of that nature. If you guys want to see a 5 winner video, let me know in the comments below. I can definitely throw that together. Let's see how this video goes over. Guys, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Hit that bell so never miss a video. If you want to support the channel, lots of ways you can do that down below. Number 1, the Patreon. Number 2, the Crossworld TCG merch store. All that stuff really helps a lot, guys. And finally, if you want to buy any of the cards you see in today's video, definitely use my link to TCG Player or Beer Collectibles. That also helps the channel out a lot, guys. Maybe you want to prove me wrong. I know this is like a 5 loser video from the ban list, but maybe you want to prove me wrong and show me these decks are still powerful. If you want to buy any of these cards, make sure to use those links. With that being said, guys, we're gonna get right into this video. So Janemba, now you might think this is a funny one to call Janemba a loser from the ban list. Where does Janemba lose out on? You would think that with the banning of Tien, Janemba only gets stronger from that point, because realistically, I talk about this so many times. Tien was probably printed to help players combat Janemba because a lot of players complained about it. It is a very annoying strategy to go up against, but ironically, Janemba is the blue deck that has the best time playing around Tien, because you don't have to tap any offensive energy in order to actually further your win condition or try and win the game. Now, with Tien gone, that does boost Janemba a hair, but the real big reason why Janemba is a loser here is because of the loss of Mercenary Tau. And I say that because the biggest thing that really stifles Janemba, the best strategy to combat Janemba, if that's the deck you absolutely hate, is hand control. Janemba absolutely hates hand control, and that archetype is getting pushed really hard in Set 9. Obviously, with the new Cell Successor stuff, that's the big one. They really breathed a new life into the old Cell Chain as well. So reducing Janemba to 3 cards in hand and then having all the ways to crit them down and deny them hand resources, that's going to be a huge detriment to Janemba. Man, imagine playing an Android 20 deck or some type of Android deck in Set 9 where you play the new Super 17 boss monster that literally just says, when you play this card, crit your opponent down to 4 life. You just never swing at Janemba. You let them attack you. You let them give you cards off your life. And then you just crit them down to 4 and pressure them from there. And then maybe drop a Cell Chain next to that. That just seems really, really insane. So for those reasons, I think Janemba is a bit of a loser from the ban list. Letting hand control reign free is definitely going to spell trouble for Janemba, in my opinion. Next up, we're talking about Gogeta 7 strategies. Now, where did Gogeta 7 strategies get hit on the ban list? If you guys watched my ban list video I posted early last week, you guys would see that I was a little upset that Gogeta 7 missed the ban list. I get upset every single time it misses the ban list. That's nothing new. But anyways, where did Gogeta 7 take a hit? Well, the hit to Objection is a pretty decent indirect hit to Gogeta 7. Thinking about it in hindsight, now that Objection is gone, I'm a little bit more okay with Gogeta staying in the game, because it means you have to have 5 energy in order to resolve Gogeta. Thanks to his effect, he does require you to have 5 life, 5 energy, sorry. And now it's much harder to get there. It's much harder to ramp, essentially. In Mono Blue or Blue with other splashes of colors, you no longer have the generic power of Objection, because Objection only required the 1 specified blue. So you can't play your degenerate Gogeta 7 ramp strategies. Now, what decks can still take advantage of this? Well, I suppose you could play Shenron Gogeta. You'd have to wait till turn 5. A lot of lists of Shenron Gogeta were using the East Kai ramp, the mana dork that you could bring out with Assemble the Squad. But again, she doesn't count as an actual energy towards your 5 energy requirement to actually resolve Gogeta's effect. So you are an entire turn slower now as Shenron Gogeta. And obviously they hit World Peace. They hit a lot of the stuff that made Shenron ramp viable. So you already took hits there, and now you can't get to your Gogeta 7 fast enough in a format that's as aggressive as this format. Now, one deck that still can abuse Gogeta 7 pretty well, that's going to be Piccolo Surge, because Piccolo Surge can ramp through the leader effect, and that's pretty good for getting Gogeta on turn 4. But the thing about that is that you can only do that if Piccolo Surge is being aggroed. So you have to be at 3 or less life in order to use your leader's ability. You can play the new Champ Pack Piccolo Gohan card to use your leader ability at 4 life. But even then, do you really want to flip over, ramp to 5, and then crit yourself down to 3 in an aggro matchup? Because those are the matchups where they're going to put you to 4 pretty early. So is that really the best line of play? sometimes it isn't. I mean, it's rough. Against Surge Goku, if they're being very aggressive with you, you're going to drop the Gogeta. They're going to blank the Gogeta when it attacks. You might be in trouble. Even against any yellow deck that's playing Champa the Trickster or Mutaito, you're going to drop the Gogeta. You'll reset their hand, sure, but they'll draw back up to 4. You're going to pass turn. On your next turn, they're going to draw back up to 5. You might be in a little bit of a sticky situation. So Gogeta 7 definitely takes an indirect hit. I'm much more okay with this card being in the format without the addition of objection. Next up, Yellow Broly. This is an obvious one. Yellow Broly took a pretty big errata. So his errata now says, he's basically the same card, except his errata says he can no longer restand any card of the board by taking a life. He can only restand Broly BR battle cards. That was actually a clarification that Bandai put out recently to clarify he cannot restand Broly BRs in the energy. He can only restand himself or a Broly BR battle card. So that is pretty important to know. Another small hit not being able to restand energy, but that wasn't really the big problem with this leader. The thing with the leader now is he's going to be much less generic. You can no longer, swing twice with a Mirror Creator Absorb for infinite damage. That used to be kind of like a guaranteed 3 life damage combo. But now that's not going to be such a thing anymore. You also can't restand like your Bardock Raiders War Cries if you're playing blue-yellow. If you're playing like some type of red-yellow build, you can't restand your Plea to swing for 2 triple strikes. You can't restand Height of Mastery, or you can't restand Victory Strike. So how did this leader take a hit? Well, all the things I just mentioned, he's going to be much less generic. I do think he's going to be pretty powerful as a green-yellow leader shell. So I think he has that going for him. He has the ability to restand the All-Out Assault SS Broly Arrival card, which does get his ability when you restand him with the leader effect. So that's pretty high value there. And we're getting a lot of green-yellow support, as I mentioned before, in set 9. So I do think he will be viable going that route. I just think he takes a hit in terms of being generically viable. But I have talked to people that think that he is going to still be a good generic leader, still be good generically with blue-yellow. Even though you can't restand the Bardocks, even though you can't restand the Miras, he's still just a really good generic yellow leader, has access to Cold Bloodlust, has access to Self-Awaken, and I think that is something we're missing. I think we're missing a new generic yellow leader. Not so generic that you could go off the rails and just play like, green, blue, yellow and be really generic in that sense, but I think generic in the sense that you can just play good yellow cards and maybe like, throw a Height of Mastery engine in there. Because at the moment, I think the other best generic yellow leader is probably SS2 Gohan. The rest of the yellow leader pool just probably isn't generic enough. But with set 9, we are getting some pretty cool Surge leaders. They're not totally just yellow, but they could probably do some pretty cool generic things. So those are things I'm going to throw out there to consider. But I do think that Broly takes hits in those ways. Next up, we're talking about blue aggro. So again, I mentioned before, Tien is gone, and that is a great thing for blue. I talked about it in my deck profile for Chicago. The main reason I didn't play anything blue based or green based, or blue-green base in general, is because of Tien. Tien was such a broken card. It really pushed blue out of the game, and it was really interesting because for the first like 3 or 4 sets of the game, you really had to be playing blue, otherwise you were going to be in big trouble. But ever since Tien got introduced, blue was very, very difficult to play. If you chose to play blue, you were pretty much handicapping yourself against anyone that was sideboarding Tien, and that was most players. So blue aggro takes a hit. It is nice that Tien's gone, but it does take a hit because Unyielding Spirit Trunks is now on the ban list. It was a very unexpected ban. I'm not quite sure why. Well, I guess I am sure why. They explained in the designer notes that they banned Unyielding Spirit Trunks because it would be very powerful with Invoker. You could theoretically drop your 3-drop Vegeta Invoker, which has Barrier and Deflect. Then you could attack, restand an energy from being tapped out with the Unyielding Spirit Trunks, and then you could have access to your Invoker extra cards right then and there. Now, it's kind of an interesting thing for them to say that because the Unyielding Spirit Trunks is unsearchable in that deck unless you played like some type of Mighty Mask engine or Blue Sand searchers, I guess, which do exist, but it's pretty difficult to search it still in those ways. And yeah, so I think it's a little bit weird they decided to ban that card, but blue aggro does take a hit. You guys may have seen the Gohan deck profile I posted a few weeks ago. That deck I think is still playable. I think it still has the potential to be pretty strong, but it's pretty unfortunate now that you don't have the ability to go from tapped out to having energy standing. I think Unyielding was okay at 1, but this deck definitely takes a hit from that decision. Finally, guys, we're talking about Shenron. I've said it before. When this leader is bad, it's nearly unplayable, but when this leader is broken, or when this leader is good, it is severely broken, guys. And one of the things that made this leader, or one of the ways that this leader gets abused, is with really powerful boss monsters like Gogeta 7, like Kaioken Son Goku. they already hit the Shenron ramp deck that was alive for Nationals, and that meant that Kaioken Goku was no longer playable in the deck. But Shenron Gogeta was still floating around. It actually topped one of the more recent events of Set 8. But with the loss of Objection, like I mentioned before, Shenron takes a really big hit. They can't drop Gogeta till turn 5. And even if you are playing yellow, even if you are playing Nimbus to stall to get there, you're not really going to be very safe because you don't have access to Topo, something that really ends turns. The thing with Nimbus is it can be played around. The opponent can still get 2 more swings, and you have to defend those swings, and you have to wait a whole additional turn in order to get to your Gogeta play. So really interesting there how I think Shenron is taking a big hit from this ban list. If I never see Shenron in a meta again, it'll be too soon. But guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you agree, disagree with my opinions? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.